I did a stream with Justin last time, but it was kind of a botch job for a variety of reasons. Chief among them being that he plopped a new piece of hardware right into my ecosystem, and in the PC environment, when you do that, sometimes, especially with my delicate Twitch setup, it can cause quite a bit of disruption. So yeah, Justin was over. We had talked about the situation with the Amico. What had happened was, after I uploaded my Amico video, the Amico fans came out of the woodworks, and they were not happy with my take. Although my take wasn't necessarily negative against the Amico, I definitely clowned on Tommy Tallarico for certain. But I think I still had I gave him his fair breath to explain what the Amico was and all of that. And I liked a lot of what he had to say. I also read, the point of contention was that I read a Kotaku article that definitely did not have a positive bend towards the situation with the Intellivision Amico, and definitely with Tommy Tallarico as a person. So I just read it because, I had no idea. I didn't have any idea that the Intellivision brand was even still existing, let alone they were about to drop a console of some sort. The first thing that I caught wind of it was literally seeing that headline, and it's obviously like an opinion headline that was buttressed by some factual statements. The opinion being that the Amico launches a car crash, and the opinions, that's the opinion. The factual statements being like the changing of the price points and the hardware specs and all that kind of stuff, and then also some opinion on Tommy Tallarico as an individual. I didn't want to, do a bunch of weird Googling over something that I didn't know if I would be interested in or not. I watched that video. I felt like that was the fairest thing to do, was to watch their own video promoting the thing. And then I read the article, and, I had my own opinions, and I stand by them. Like, my opinions weren't necessarily negative. But, again, I'm not Walter Cronkite. I'm not here trying to, like, fucking, give a fair and balanced assessment of everything that's happening in your world today and mine. No, that's not what I'm here for, dude. I'm a nerd on the internet. I saw an article, I clicked on it, and I read it in a funny voice with some crazy music behind me that should have clued you in on the amount of levity with which, you can go into taking that report on. But, the conversation that I had with Justin, actually, it reminded me how much I missed having his voice around, because, like, it's always good to have someone with a different perspective and different thoughts and ideas that you can just bounce your thoughts and ideas off of. I think we had a pretty good conversation, the parts of it that you can actually hear. So I want to go ahead and play the parts that, do come out decently. Let me go ahead and switch here. It starts off choppy, by the way, because I had just installed a new massive network card, and I was hoping that network card was going to resolve my frame drop issues, but turns out it wasn't the network card that was causing the problem. It was the software encoder, and my graphics card solved the problem. So the choppiness on this first part, the video is split into two because I ended the stream and then changed my bitrate and relaunched it. So this first part, it's going to be choppy. My apologies, but hopefully those days are now behind us. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nerdcast. I am Devin, broadcasting as always live from an undisclosed location in the center of Texas, and joining me again, back to the Nerdcast after a long absence. It's Justin.
Yeah, we're back.
He's back. He was off on a secret mission somewhere, but then once he saw that I was being attacked by the Tallarico lights.
Oh man, they came after you.
They came after me
internet
hard.
Struck back.
They roasted my ass.
Those
they got
Squid
me good.
Kid bastards have shown up to fucking
It is the Squid Kid
take it out of your
bastards,
ass,
for certain.
dude.
Okay, so the little context about the Squid Kid thing is, for those that don't know, Justin was the writer-composer of the Nintendo advertisement campaign for Splatoon. And one of the songs he did was the Squid Kid song, I'm a kid now, I'm a squid now, or whatever. And apparently that song was not very well regarded when those ads dropped, and there was a lot of contention on the interwebs about Squid Kid, and he found it deeply amusing. He was amused by it, and in fact, someone actually, there are a contingent of people online that took the song and then did remixes of it, and he liked the remixes, and he's not at liberty to really talk about his work on that, aside from what he just told me, and I'm not going to tell you any more than just that. He's the one that did that work. He's aware of the Squid Kid animosity, and he was greatly amused by it, and also he was a fan of a lot of those remixes. Like he said himself, if he could just send the stems out to the internet and just let people remix it however they want, he would do that, but obviously he's not at liberty to do that. But yeah, that's what he's talking about when he talks about the Squid Kid. Like, it's his own personal experience with having the internet come after him. Man, I wasn't expecting that. Like, okay, just off the top, just getting this out of the way, right up front. So, what I do with a lot of my streams is after I stream, I chop them up, upload bits to YouTube. No big deal. Nobody ever really notices. But the piece I did about Tommy Tallarico and the Intellivision Amico, it touched some nerves. Like, and I wasn't expecting it to do that. Like, literally, like one of the commenters was saying, like, here's another, clout chaser or whatever. And I'm like, clout chaser? I literally had no idea. He said, like, he's latching onto the Amico and hating on it for fame or whatever. And I was like, I had no idea.
Is that what it takes? I'm in. I don't even know what the Amico is.
Dude,
but
I didn't either.
I can get fame by wailing on it. I will wail on that shit.
Welcome back to the Amico-Cast.
No doubt.
I am Intellivision, joined by Amico Jack. let's get down to.
You want to know what sucks? The Amico. That fucking thing.
No, like, I was
broadcasting live from a safe space.
Oh no!
It's the Amico Hate Hour.
Oh no!
With your co-hosts Devin and Justin.
The Amico Hate Hour.
We're probably gonna need to back off the inputs of these microphones.
Yeah,
we're all screaming now.
I didn't realize it was gonna be such immediate, boisterous laughter. We can turn those levels down. All right, also, so you're probably noticing the quality of our audio probably is a little better. That's
maybe it's not.
So, that's when I noticed that a video was choppy. I killed that broadcast, and I started a new one that isn't as choppy. So that's where the conversation continues. Let me go. Where's that video at? And anyway, so where we were at before, just to put a button on this shit. It's so the Tommy Tallarico thing. The funny thing is, like, some of the comments, like, they were going. They were asking me why I was being biased, or why I was looking at a bias source. What the fucker, do I look like Walter Cronkite? Like, all I did, like, every now and then I go to, like, a couple of gaming websites and just check whatever the top line items are. Kotaku or Polygon or IGN or whatever else.
The article, though, I will say, hearing you read it, it did seem pretty biased.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I was listening to it, I was like, man, I don't think whoever wrote this went to journalism.
Oh, hell no.
I mean,
no.
Or if they did, they forgot everything that they learned.
Kotaku is not a journalistic, there's no journalistic integrity. There's that one guy, Jason Schreider, does some, investigative heavy reporting.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's pure bias and opinion. That's fine. Unfortunately, this is the part of the video where that desktop music just really pulverizes. It wasn't hiding it. Like, the main picture was
our dialogue.
Crash. And they were using it to describe the fucking Amico.
You were actually just trying to figure out what was the fucking counterpoint.
Yeah.
You watched Tommy's video.
And I gave him, before I read the article,
video.
I gave him full length to sell me on the Amico, tell me what it is, why it's worth it, and at multiple points in that video, I said, oh, this actually doesn't sound that bad, like, there are some things I liked about it. Just to, I think that, like, a lot of the contention with that article was about promises made and then, like, going back on them. So, like, the price point, the royalty thing, the 10 Commandments of game development, which were pretty draconian. And a lot of that stuff got overshadowed, obviously, by the clownery of the Tommy Tallarico character. Which, come on, it was fun. It was fun and funny. And that's why I read the article initially, because, like, the first thing I saw when I just scammed it was like, oh, Tommy Tallarico, I remember that name from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know anything about him. And then when I looked up on YouTube that Amico video, and as soon as I saw him with that Ed Hardy shirt, I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. I stopped watching it immediately. I was like, I'm gonna save this for the stream because I'm sure this is gonna be something fun to talk about. And sure enough, it did not disappoint. Like, and honestly, like, this is probably going to be the last time that I talk about the Intellivision Amico. And
dude, if it gets you more viewers and subscribers, we'll talk about it every fucking time.
But what else needs to be said about it? I mean, it's not...
I hope it works out for him.
And you know what? I do too.
I mean, that fucking Atari VCS case looked cool.
This is the reason why I started talking about that Amico thing, because... We talked about that Atari VCS before, and like, I have a fascination with vaporware, and I don't think this Amico thing is going to be vaporware, but it's bumping up into the kind of weird territory that, like, the Ouya and the VCS and all of these, the Phantom from way back in the day.
I don't have a fascination with vaporware as much, but what I do think is really cool is that period in the late 80s, early 90s when a lot more was possible. There were so many consoles and so many companies getting it. There was so much cool stuff. If you go back, there's a really great YouTube channel called Gaming Historian.
Yeah.
And man, some of the episodes of that show are so fascinating. And it's just really, there was a lot of interesting ideas, of all this different stuff. And we've just kind of come to this area where now everything is it's so expensive to develop anything. Every game is so expensive. Everything is so... You've only got these really... We've pretty much closed it out. You got three players, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, and that's it. You know what I mean? And it's like the idea of, like, there being other stuff out there, and my point to those guys is like, getting hung up on the graphics and shit is not the point.
Well, not only is it not the point, but, like, at this point, we're at a point where there's, like, diminishing returns on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's
people are playing, like, they're buying, like, remakes of Nintendo consoles from the 80s.
Yeah.
Because some of those games are really fun. It's a completely different thing, and I understand the dudes. Like, I understand that's it's like the ball and the string to some degree. It's a different thing. He's like, is there room for this? I'd like to believe there is. You know what I mean? But it kind of seemed like that article was almost like, what a fucking joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there was definitely that contingent to it, for certain.
And the thing is that, and it's probably from the idea of the guys following fucking. Who is he following him on? Some other right-winger nut
Tommy
jobs.
Lauren and some other weirdo.
The guy's following Tommy Lauren on Twitter, you know what I mean? So that's a major bummer. But, at the same time, it's like, so the guy has bad political views. There's other people that work there. Let's not just punch down on the dude, you know what I mean? He's trying to make a console, or that company, not even him, because, I mean, there's a
lot of other people
I'm not a huge fan of that guy. Separate from all of this.
Yeah, you have much more reason to not be than I do.
I mean, I don't have any personal history with him or anything. I just, but my point is that I'd love to see Intellivision come back as some kind of cool video game thing that, isn't a big console, but maybe it does something cool. Maybe they come up with something. It's like when the Wii came out, or even the Switch. I mean, it doesn't compete graphically with other stuff, but it has novel ideas that open up different ideas for play and things that are fun. It's like, let's kind of move out of the box of, like,
and I think that's
this many triangles.
I think that's kind of the trap of what he's trying to do, though, because we talked about this before too. Like, in the gaming industry and in the film industry, development has all kind of distilled down into the quest for blockbusters.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
All
terrible.
Because there's a return on investment.
We live in the worst timeline. You know what I mean? I mean, there might be a timeline where Trump won, and there might be a timeline where there was a nuclear explosion in the late '80s, and we're all basically just fighting each other with maces made from human femurs. You know what I mean? But other than those two timelines, we're
a pretty bad one. It's a pretty bleak one right now, where basically it's just monopolies and blockbusters, and that's the only thing that we're dealing with.
I mean, it's weird. I say that, but it's weird. It's almost like those movies that are missing have now gone into TV.
Well, and that's the point that I make with people,
bit, you know what I mean?
In respects to, like, whenever I see arguments that are about, the $40 million movie doesn't get made anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, they do. They're all over, like, VOD. Like, all those movies are VOD movies now. Like, You can have an argument about them not getting theater time anymore, and that's a legitimate argument, and I side with that, and I agree that there should be more done to allow for that ecosystem to exist. And there are indie theaters that try to.
There are, and they're so cool, and there should just be so many more of them.
And there should.
I mean, the thing is that like
it's hard to do that and not lose money, which is why everything eventually distills into like the blockbuster mindset. That's funny. Okay, I'm sorry. I guess we're not totally off of the Amico thing.
No, did you guys hear that?
No, it was muted. But you're just talking about Dolphin Quest and how hilarious that is.
It's just not the most creative title.
That's funny. Dolphin Quest, like a lot of those games, like they look fine. None of the games look bad. They look like fine games.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I even understand some of the Ten Commandments of game development. I mean, I think that when he says no 3D, no 3D scrollable things, he's providing constraints in which theoretically people can be creative and think of new things, because rendering a 3D environment is not what that thing's going to do very well. Let's look at other stuff that it can do.
That's true to a degree, but then he also has one that's like, a game must be easy to pick up and fun. It's like, well, that's incredibly subjective.
Well, that's actually, I think that's actually one of Miyamoto's things, is that I read an article with him, and he was like, games, a lot of times the barrier for entry is so high with modern video games, and he was like, the idea is to be able to pick up a game very quickly and figure out how to play it and have it be mechanically fun.
Yeah, which is great for Miyamoto and the games that he makes, but that's not great for the edict for everybody that makes a game for Nintendo. Like, you gotta if you're trying to lure people in to develop games for your console, you gotta let them have the breadth to be able to experiment with shit.
It's true, but at the same time, it's like 3D games are pretty easy to make right now. Hell, I've made one. You know what I mean? Where you walk around an environment. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, we used Unity, and you walk around. There's some ghosts in there. You hit the ghost with a whip. It's like Castlevania.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would really be more like what kind of games would you would make? Oh, geez, what kind of 3D games would you make on a 6-year-old Android phone? It wouldn't be anything super expansive. It would probably just be like Crossy Road or something.
You could, I don't know.
It wouldn't be like Mario 64. Well, I guess you could probably make a Mario 64.
Oh, yeah.
Like that.
Totally. I mean, shit, 5 years ago is, 2016.
But Mario 64 is a fun game, and it was easy. It was easy
exactly.
To pick
That's
up
my point.
And,
Exactly.
But then why have an edict to not make 3D roaming games? If you can make one that's easy to pick up and accessible.
For a couple of reasons, but I mean, yes, the idea is to provide a constraint, but also to try to keep people out of things the console's not going to do very well. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's like, think of something else.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? I mean, if I was going to build a console that doesn't render graphics that well, I'd be like,
at a certain point, that's on the developer. Like, they're going to eat their own ass trying to make a console do something that it can't do.
Well, the problem is it's going to be tough.
At some point in this, we had a big conversation about game engines that I can't remember if I had to edit that because of the audio issues, or if that actually was actually usable or not. I hope that it's still in here, because that was actually a really good conversation about game engines. I think it may have come off of oh man, I don't know what led to that discussion.
Enough making a game that you can make money on, where they take 50% of $10.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you make the most you can make is $5 with every sell.
Yeah, that's automatically got to restrict people from doing super crazy weird shit.
Because art, I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, like fucking $5 on it. Oof, that's brutal, dude. Anyways, that's enough of the Amico shit. Let's get into some new stuff.
Yeah, let's see who else we can offend. Because obviously, offending people
is the
way to go.
All right. That was the end of that, and then I have some other stuff from that stream. Boomer Ass Millennial. I don't really quite know what that's about. I can't remember. I have such bad memory. What was Boomer Ass Millennial all about? Which describes millennials in my age range.
Yeah.
I refuse to go by that name. I would rather be called a boomer.
You see, listen to the audio. Listen to that desktop audio.
I'm not geriatric.
It drowns
I
out.
made Gen X by the fucking skin of my teeth, and I'm wearing that shit
You
like
wear
a
that
fucking
like a badge of honor?
fuck yeah, dude.
That's Gen
You
X.
know what I'm saying?
Fucking Gen X
Yeah.
people.
Okay.
I made-
describes millennials in my age range.
Yeah.
I refuse to go by that name. I would rather be called a boomer ass millennial.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
I'm
just-
not geriatric. I don't.
I made Gen X by the fucking skin of my teeth, and I'm wearing that shit
You
like
wear
a
that
fucking
like a badge of honor?
fuck yeah, dude.
That's Gen
You know what I'm saying?
Fucking Gen X people. I have a deep resentment of Gen X.
Oh.
Yeah.
The good thing you know is the one thing that'll warm your heart is that Gen X doesn't care.
Doesn't give a shit. Exactly.
Doesn't give a shit about your fucking resentment.
Which is exactly why I resent them. Those fucking lackadaisical, carefree fucks just floating through life, letting shit happen.